Hey YouTube, it's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome to another Summer Bash review and Christmas in July. And this one time, we're talking about a 2015 disaster that came out before The Force Awakens. So no, don't worry, it's not that because that movie didn't come out in the summer. This was the first big sci-fi movie of the summer that year after Avengers 2, and it is the colossal Disney failure Tomorrowland. Now, before you come with your hate comments saying that this movie was really good, let me be the first to say that I was actually looking forward to this movie. It was not in my most anticipated films of 2015 because I'm like, yeah, Avengers 2 just it met all my expectations. I still got my poster on my wall. This movie, I'm like, oh, good. It's Disney making an original movie. So I commend it for being an original concept. It's not another sequel or a remake or another prequel or doing a live action version of another Disney classic. No, this was its own movie, so I give it credit for that. But why did this movie fail? Let's see. The film is insanely boring. The script is very uneven. It switches tones between dark and light like way too many times. And I have other problems, but let me get the positives, out of the way. The few positives that this movie has. I think the film looks beautiful. Like some of the visuals look fantastic. Like the way Tomorrowland looks, it looks really good. But I've seen better visual effects. Basically, Tomorrowland looks like nowhere, whatever, one of the planets from Guardians of the Galaxy One. Look at the Guardians of the Galaxy, when you see Groot and Rocket for the first time, and then see Tomorrowland and see which one you think is a ripoff. Yeah, I think Tomorrowland stole from it because Guardians came out first, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, I'm sorry, this movie did not have the characters that Guardians of the Galaxy or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume Two did. As much as that movie gets a lot of flack that it doesn't deserve, it wasn't some boring, confusing piece of shit like this movie was. Okay, I did not know what was going on. After the beginning starts off with a flashback where George Clooney is talking about his life when he was a kid, a kid inventor that was that had a lot of ambition, and he wanted the people of Tomorrowland or whatever to make his invention into reality, to be manufactured, and then they turn him down. This dumbass guy played by Hugh Laurie, who not a fan of this actor. I'm sorry, I never saw House, don't care. I think he's okay in the Stuart Little films because he's not the lead, and the only funny thing he's ever done was the 101 Dalmatians remake. That is it. Didn't care about him in Monsters vs. Aliens. I don't find him threatening as a villain in this movie. It's like, oh, bam, he's a villain. I'm like, yeah, because he was a scumbag in the first 5 minutes of the movie. George Clooney says one good thing in the movie. He's trying. I know this is not Batman and Robin where he's phoning it in. He's trying, but good God, the script doesn't give him any favors. And I think Britt Robertson is a cute female lead. I can at least say that. But the movie went to shit as soon as George Clooney said this when his younger self meets up with this little girl who I could not freaking stand in this movie. I didn't think she was cute. I wanted to kick her in the face, and I am not violent towards children because I think children are sweet, and also they're our future and they have a lot of merit. But good God, this little British chick, I wanted to poke her in the eyes. He says this line, and I quote, and that's when everything went to hell. Thank you. Thank you, Clooney, for not hiding how you feel about this movie because it was a financial failure. It was a critical failure. It got bashed by the critics because, like I said, they liked the premise, they liked the concepts and the visuals, and some of the acting was good, but the script is uneven. Sometimes it's being serious and dealing with the George Clooney's past. It was kind of intriguing, and then the rest of the movie becomes some slapstick bad cartoon on acid. It's like, oh, now the little girl can run like the freaking like the T-1000 in Terminator 2, and she can freaking roll her head because spoiler alert, she's a freaking robot. Fuck you, Disney. That would explain why her acting is so horrendous. That would explain why Felicity Jones can't act. That would explain why the hobo with a stick in Force Awakens is lifeless and boring and non-sexy at all. Because they're British robots. That explains everything. Lego Batman already said that in the movie. with the Daleks. Yes, British robots. That's what half of these people are in this movie. They're robotic. Their acting is not does not compute. It's not natural. It's unnatural. That's the whole freaking performance this girl gets. She's not cute. I wanted to poke her in the eyes. She played, I think, the younger version of freaking Snow White and Snow White and the Huntsman. I don't care. I think she's just as bad as Kristen Stewart. That's harsh, but I don't care. Being cutesy is not enough to win me over. You have to act. When you sound like this, I am the robot. Blah, blah, blah. No, no. Take your agenda and shove it, Disney. I'm sick of your freaking British casting. It's ruining half of these movies. I didn't like that in Beauty and the Beast. I'm sorry. A bunch of Brits in a freaking movie that takes place in France. Yeah, consistently my foot. Freaking Maleficent and Cinderella and freaking Jungle Book. Why? Why are you obsessed with casting Brits in our American movies, Disney? Why? Walt Disney was not British. You don't need this British bullshit in his freaking work, okay? He created Tomorrowland. He wanted to make a world of tomorrow for people to look towards the future. Keep moving forward. That was Walt's freaking quote. You see Meet the Robinsons. That's way better than this freaking movie. I was so confused with this movie. I don't know where it was going. One minute you follow George Clooney as a kid, then they show him when he comes back, and then they show Britt Robertson when she's doing, and she's like she's a rebel that like breaks into building facilities and steals stuff. I'm like, where is the likable characters? Where? I don't know. This movie was just as confusing as Ender's Game, which a movie that had made no freaking sense. The ending, I don't know what was going on. And this film, it's long and it's boring. The visuals are not enough. I need a good plot. I need characters that I can connect with. You know why that movie worked and they casted a Brit? Because Holland is not a robot. He's not freaking phoning in it. He's not like, hey guys, I'm Spider Man. Phew, phew, phew. If he did that for 2 hours, I would have walked out. But this girl is freaking terrible. She dies at the end because Clooney like shoots her up into space and she says this stupid speech and he drops her. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This movie's so convoluted. It's incoherent. I don't know. For every person that said the Batman versus Superman was incoherent, see this movie. This movie's going to confuse you within the first 30 minutes. There is no purpose to this film. To make money, really? We want originality. It doesn't mean you have to have a bad script. The film has some scene where, yes, it's a freaking. They had to blatantly obvious punch to the Star Wars fans. They show freaking um, a comic book shop or whatever of these two people, rogue agents or whatever you want to call them, that have all these Star Wars stuff. We get it, Disney. You bought Star Wars. We get it. You don't have to shove it in my face. I already suffered through Rogue One. I already suffered through The Force Awakens. I am not suffering through the trailer of Episode 8. I don't care about the young Han Solo. I don't care about Episode 9. If you're going to just put agendas, fan fiction, Star Wars, I don't want it. I always have that. Always. You can never take that away from me. And this movie was no Star Wars. This was Ender's Game, Part 2. And it's boring. What is there to like about this movie? I was confused. As soon as it started, my sister was like, "Oh, you recorded it, John." I'm like, I didn't know it was a bad movie. It was so lifeless. This movie broke me. I thought that I had my fair share of shitty sci-fi when I saw Rogue One, but I'm like, this proves that Disney doesn't care. They just want to throw their freaking half the time they just want to throw their visuals in my face and say, "Hey, you're gonna like it no matter what." No, Civil War and Guardians 2 and freaking Spider-Man Homecoming worked because I cared about the characters, at least for the most part, and the story was engaging and it looked good and it was coherent. It wasn't like all this shit is happening and it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, Britt Robertson is a talented actress. She should get away from Disney. Like, run fast and never come back. You know what she looks like? I'm not bullshitting you. She looks like an older version of Sabrina Carpenter. Like she looks just like her. It's not a bad thing because Sabrina Carpenter is cute, but good God, she was wasted in this movie. She's not even the lead in this movie. The first 30 minutes is about George Clooney when he was a kid. Then he grows up and he's like, I want to take people to Tomorrowland. Blah, 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 blah. Technical babble, technical babble. It was boring. It got old fast. This film wore out its welcome within an hour of the movie. I'm like, God, this movie hurts. It hurts. I don't know what's going on. And then Hugh Laurie's like, hey, I'm the villain of the movie. No, fuck you, Hugh Laurie, and that little British girl. I'm tired of you freaking English muffins and everything. You know why I liked Tom Holland? Like I said before, likable. He is not robotic, and neither is the freaking so what's it called? Rebecca Ferguson in Mission Impossible 5 and 6 coming up because she's beautiful and she has life to her face and she can smile. She's not a freaking robot chasing after people. I mean, this movie steals from so many other films. It steals from Guardians 1. It steals from Terminator 2. It steals freaking scenes from the Marvel movies, other Marvel movies, like I think uh Winter Soldier, like the chase scene in Winter Soldier when when Bucky's chasing Cap and Black Widow and freaking Falcon in the freaking car. It was done better there. Here it's ridiculous. I'm like I've seen this done better. Disney, you're not fooling me. You have an interesting concept. If they wanted to do like a Pirates of the Caribbean, take an attraction from the park and make it into a movie, but it didn't work. The script is weak sauce. I did not laugh once in this movie. It's not funny. It's trying to have its cake and eat it too. It's trying to be dark and serious, then it's trying to be light and cartoonish with the freaking running like this, girl running like this, and the freaking slapstick. It's so painful, painful freaking visuals in this movie, and some of the non, cinematography. When you see some of the special effects, they look like shit. The girl running, it's not, it's laughable. It's worse than in Terminator Genesis. It's worse because this is an original concept and it could have worked, but it's boring. It's lifeless. It has no characters that I care about. Your lead girl could have been interesting if she was the lead and not some freaking British robot who should never act again. I know that's harsh. I don't care. She shouldn't act in any more movies in the US. I'm sorry. This is an agenda. Putting your freaking foreigners in everything. You don't need that. When it's done well, you get Spider-Man Homecoming. When it's done wrong, you get this. You get Lone Ranger. You get freaking Rogue One, where not a single person in that movie was likable, and when they are likable, they die. Here, I wish that some of the characters died, besides the robot. Here, I didn't care. K2SO was a droid in Rogue One that had more personality than this freaking little girl. I'm sorry, I didn't find her cute. You know who was cute in a movie a long time ago? Rowan Blanchard. She wasn't horrible in Spy Kids 4. She tried. At least she's not robotic. Or check out Miley Cyrus in anything she's done, like Bolt or the Hannah Montana movie. Cutesy can go a long way if you have some talent behind it. This girl has nothing. Britt Robertson was trying, but she gets overshadowed by this freaking robotic monstrosity. And the film just it's uneventful, it's uninspired, it doesn't have its own identity. It tries to steal from other films and try to be coherent, and it doesn't work. The plot is old and it's done and it's predictable. At the end, I knew Clooney wasn't going to die. I knew Britt Robertson wasn't going to die, and I knew they were going to go to Tomorrowland and beam people there, and it doesn't make any sense. How did they get there? To a portal? To a freaking time travel? I don't know. I don't explain to me in the comments. I don't understand this movie. This movie deserved to flop. It deserved to get bashed. The critics were not wrong on this one. I was intrigued by the trailer. I said maybe the movie could be interesting. And then I saw the reviews and I saw it bomb and I'm like, yes, I know why it bombed. I know why it bombed because there is no way this movie was going to be a good film. If you know who was one of the writers of this piece of shit? The writer of Prometheus. I told you I don't want some pretentious freaking sci-fi movie. Make a sci-fi movie good. We got them right behind me. Homecoming, Guardians 2, Guardians 1, Civil War, freaking The Phantom Menace was less confusing than this freaking movie. It was because that movie got to the point. It was a prequel to Star Wars. Yeah, it had some problems with the Trade Federation thing and the midichlorians. I get it, and people hate Jar Jar, but I would take Jar Jar for freaking 3 movies than this freaking British robot doing this. I'm sorry, that she's doing flips like she's in the Matrix. I'm like, you're not being clever, Disney. You're ripping off better films. I'd rather see The Matrix or Reloaded or Revolutions. At least Keanu Reeves is not asleep in that movie. You know, my sci-fi when a sci-fi movie bores me to death, it insults me like nothing else in this world. Because I hate bad comedies, I hate bad action movies, I hate bad musicals and bad dramas and bad freaking, thrillers and horror films, but bad sci-fi just pisses me the fuck off. It really does. It pisses me off more than anything. That's why I hated Rogue One. You took a good story, you took a story I never cared about, and you made it even more boring than it could have been. And you had no likable characters. Here, same thing. Cool premise. Oh, that we're gonna go to this land where tomorrow where everything is advanced and technology is everywhere, and your imagination can run wild. There is no imagination in this movie. This didn't feel like a Disney movie. I felt like I was watching an Ender's Game sequel, and that movie sucked. Do better, Disney. I'm tired. You did this and it flopped, so you're like, nope. Now we're just gonna remake everything that we've done better in the past. You did it with Jungle Book and B&B 2017, and no, I'm not looking forward to Aladdin. I saw what the new actor looks like. He looks like a freaking One Direction ripoff. I don't need that. I never needed that. Good luck trying to get Genie because you're not going to replace Robin Williams. He's dead. May he rest in peace. He'll never do a freaking remake like this. But anyway, Tomorrowland, it sucks. This is one of the worst non-Disney, non-Disney sequels I've ever seen. It is. It's like it's a live action movie that could have been good because I'm sorry. Originality doesn't mean the movie's automatically good. It can be bad as well. I'm sorry. This movie pisses me off because I'm like, after Rogue One, I didn't want to see another painful sci-fi movie from this decade, and I did. Tron Legacy may not have had the best story, but I was not confused when I saw that in the theater, and I loved it. I thought that was the closest to a Star Wars movie we got before Disney raped it and made this freaking disaster and try to sell this movie on freaking Blu-ray at a 7-Eleven for $10. I'm never buying this movie. If I got it in the Disney rewards, I would destroy it with a hammer on camera. Because I don't care for this movie. I think it's worse than Lone Ranger because it's sci-fi. It's not supposed to be boring. And you writers of Prometheus and Alien Covenant, you can suck it. Right down the line. Because you don't know how to write. If you can't get me with interesting plot points and ideas like Watchmen did, then you have nothing to offer. Nothing. Be original. Do something different. This film could have been different, and it wasn't. It was painfully dull, and it sucks. If you haven't seen it, just don't. Don't waste your time. Sit through the original Star Wars trilogy. Sit through the prequels. Sit through freaking the Clone Wars miniseries on DVD. That's a plug for Sean because I know he likes the micro series. That's way better than this. Hell, Guardians 2. It has more of a plot than this. Disjointed my ass. That movie was fun. I already loved the characters in the first one. If they made a sequel, I would never have watched it because it's boring and it has nothing to offer. And Disney should be ashamed of themselves for releasing this. This would have worked better as a short film than a freaking 2-hour movie that just drags and is painfully dull. But anyway, I'm repeating myself. I hate this movie. It's one of the worst of 2015, without a shadow of a doubt. If I had seen this in 2015, it would be in my bottom 5. Easily. Easily. Without any hesitation. But it's hot. I'm done with this movie. It sucks. There are better sci-fi movies out there with less budget too. You don't need to throw all your money on screen. We get it, Disney. You have all the money in the world. It doesn't mean you need to make tripe like this. And I'll leave you guys with that. So see you guys in the next review. Take care. Avoid the heat because I didn't and I sweated like crazy today. But anyway, Tomorrowland, you will never see tomorrow because it bombed and it deserved it. Later.